Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have a very interesting solution called Aptean JustFood. And we have reviewed a lot of different products from Aptean. So this is going to be a fun one as well. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Dave for his intro.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Crysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders in manufacturing and distribution, helping them through business process optimization and systemizing their businesses. I come to you with more than 20 years of various operational leadership roles, which includes several ERP implementations. So excited to be here with you, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. And if you are in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, then we will make sure that you are going to receive your answers. On that note, Dave, I am going to start with the quick commentary related to this solution. We are going to cover Aptean's corporate strategy, how they like to play in the market. Everybody sort of has their own cards in terms of how they play. So we are going to review that, and we are going to review how this solution compares with many different products that they have in their portfolio and the other comparable solutions that we have. So in this particular case, this is Aptean JustFood. And Aptean overall, from the corporate strategy perspective, they have many different layers. The way they like to attack the market. Number one is going to be the strategy very similar to your Infor Apicor, where they are trying to sell the package solution. Meaning they want to control everything. Nobody should get in the deal. How exciting that is, right? That's what every ERP vendor out there wants, because they can do that. Okay. So in the case of Aptean, obviously that's exactly what they are trying to do. Now, in this particular case, there's a slightly different twist overall from their market strategy. So Aptean, obviously, they want to create the package solution, but they are not as powerful, at least at this point of time, like in for Apicor. So they also have the side strategy there. Okay, the side strategy is going to be where they can also sell the follow-on, the add-on products. So in this particular case, this is a very interesting play because they acquired an add-on on top of Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. Can you believe this? Okay. Which in my mind is very exciting, because the reason why, and I'm actually going to like this product, Dave. Okay. And this is the first time you are going to find me liking something, that is going to be, the similar product like this. And the reason why I like this is because typically, anything that is going to have a thick add-on, I'm going to say big no. Okay. But in this particular case, you have an add-on from one of the most reputed vendor out there. So that's why I kind of like it, to be honest. Okay. So we are going to discuss that. Before we do that, Andy, do you want to quickly?
Hey, I'm so sorry for getting on late, guys.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe what kind of crazy things are going on. I had that presentation to the Apex thing last night, and I just been bombarded with stuff, and I'm so sorry. My name's Andy Pratico. I've been in ERP software for longer than any of you have been alive, and including you two. And I've worked all over North America. I've worked with over 1,000 manufacturers. And I also teach people how to evaluate and uncover the truth about ERP software. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you. Short and sweet.
Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And obviously, you are receiving a lot of traffic because of your exciting presentations. So good for
I
you.
guess, or else, or yeah, I fool. What does the Barnum and Bailey say? You can fool them some of the time, and wherever that goes. I don't know.
Maybe Dave has a comment there. I don't know.
That one, no, that must have been before my time.
Right?
Yeah, it was
Exactly.
back in
Exactly.
the Neanderthal time, I think.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Andy, so we were discussing about this particular solution. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're familiar with this one. I think you made a comment last time. I think that was related to this solution.
Yes, I did. I made the mistake. Yes,
that's
I did.
completely okay. Okay, as long
That
as
was the one time I made a mistake, Sam.
Exactly.
The one time.
Yeah. Andy can never make a mistake. I tell you this. Okay? So in this particular case, this is an add-on on top of Microsoft Business Central, and I believe
Right.
Aptean has
So is it only tied to SAP B1, nothing else?
No, this one is not tied to SAP P1 at all. This
Oh.
one is tied to Microsoft Business Central.
Oh, Business Central. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Business
Oh.
Central. Yeah, I think you are
So it's
still
an
thinking
ISV.
about Batchmaster.
It's an ISV.
So this is not an ISV. This was the ISV acquired by Aptean. So this,
Okay.
yeah, so this is a recent acquisition by Aptean. For the most part, the way they have operated in the market, my understanding was that they only wanted to acquire the full suite ERP solution that is going to let them sell the ERP, the full package solution, the way Infor and Apicor operates in the
Right.
market. But in this particular case, they did acquire an add-on on top of Microsoft Business Central, and they own that. They are mentioning that it has very similar strategy because they can still sell the follow-on products on top of Aptean. And Microsoft in general is a very different beast the way Microsoft works. Okay, so Microsoft is not necessarily an ERP vendor in general. The way their corporate strategy is, they don't even provide the support for any of the smaller partners. So
That's right.
if you are, unless you are something like Avanade, obviously that is a very large consulting firm owned by Accenture, probably. You are not going to get attention of Microsoft because you don't have enough revenue on license. Okay, so if you are a customer buying a Microsoft product, obviously, you are not going to receive as much attention as you might be able to get from some of the other vendors, and that's why probably Aptean wanted to acquire this one, because these customers are not going to get the support from Microsoft. Aptean, the way their market strategy is, they want to earn the services, which is slightly counterintuitive from most of the ERP vendors that we like to operate. Aptean is a very different company in general. So they are not only trying to focus on the licensing revenue they want to earn based on support, they want to sell the follow-on products. So they have a very mixed strategy the way they are operating in the market at this point of time. I don't know what they are going to do in the long term. Even after their breakup with Vista Equity, which was a very recent event. Okay, I have not seen any changes. In fact, they are the only company, ERP company at this point of time, that is acquiring products in 2023, where none of the enterprise software companies are acquiring the company. So, which is very interesting, and I don't know how they are going to sort of move forward in the future. But at this point of time, they are definitely moving in the same direction that they were moving with Vista Equity when they were with them.
Very
So,
interesting observation, Sam.
yeah. Any other experiences or the commentary you guys might have?
Well, I've ran into them a few times. I mean, it's obviously, guess what the software is designed for? Just food. That was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, exactly. But it
And
might
for that
not be.
specific industry that they've got a good following.
But Andy, once you actually review their other product, it might not be as funny. The reason for that is because they are also targeted for food.
Oh, no, you're
So,
kidding. Okay.
This is
I
just
can hardly
food,
wait.
and are they supposed to be also food? I don't know.
also food. Or just food. It's like just toys or there we go. Food for us. How's that?
Yeah. By the way, they have another product called BC Food. I don't know when we are reviewing that.
Oh no!
I think they acquired both of the competitors. You know,
Oh,
how
no.
exciting is that?
Really? What an industry we're in.
Exactly. Okay. Any other comments before I move to the slides, Dave, Andy?
No, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. So let's review some of the commentary here. So this is the Aptean Food and Beverage ERP runs on the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And this is the shocking part, because Aptean, yeah, it's weird because Aptean is a decent sized company, to be honest.
Fox is in the hen house.
Sorry, what's that, Andy?
The fox is in the hen house.
Yeah. And I don't know why Microsoft would allow this deal, to be honest, because obviously they have large chunk of ERP market share. But Microsoft also has a very different strategy, because obviously they are primarily the infrastructure company. They want to sell more and more Azure. Yes, they are competing with their own customers. Most of them are actually on Microsoft infrastructure. So they are competing with pretty much everybody. And that's why I don't see Microsoft as the ERP company in general, the way they are operating in the market. And that's probably the reason why they have allowed this deal. If this was their bread and butter, then they would not let their competitors compete in this one. And most likely Aptean is competing with Microsoft as well. But Microsoft is probably competing with pretty much everybody in the market. So again, very, very, very interesting play in general. Mind-blowing. So here they are saying to provide the accessibility, scalability, and reliability. A lot of ability there that you... Andy's joke, that you expect from your business management software. It is built on Microsoft Dynamics. It integrates with other Microsoft products you use every day, because it was supposed to be Microsoft product to begin with.
I think they need some new marketing people, I think.
I don't know. I mean, I think they are doing pretty good job. Okay,
they
converted blue product into yellow, Andy. Okay, so that's
Did
marketing. They have to.
Well, that
Aptean is supposed to be yellow, Andy. It cannot be blue.
I heard. I'll tell you a stupid story. I heard this yesterday from a marketing person. The reason why McDonald's golden arches are yellow?
Yeah,
because apparently the color yellow makes you hungry.
Interesting. And is that the reason why Aptean, everything that they do is yellow?
Food, hungry.
Yeah, I am very ERP hungry right now. I want so much ERP in my life. I cannot tell you how much ERP I want in my life.
Oh, man, I can just count down right now. I'll tell you.
That was a good one.
Thank you so much, Andy. Okay, guys. So here we have...
We're not, audience. Sometimes we are serious.
Exactly. We have to be, right? We are in the ERP business. We have to be serious.
Serious ERP business.
Serious ERP business.
That's right.
Okay, moving right along. So here they are saying Aptean Food and Beverage ERP ensures forecasting, planning, and budgeting accuracy. Obviously, that's a lot of marketing right there. Our team of project managers, business analysts, and solution architects have decades of food industry experience. Very interesting. Okay, have deployed hundreds of implementations and know the importance of a strong financial foundation. So obviously that's a lot of marketing. I don't see any substance there, unless you guys see something there that I should pay attention to. Okay, so obviously they do have a lot of features from the food and beverage perspective. They are really important, and it's built on top of BC. That's what excites me, because BC as the core product does not have all of these bells and whistles. It's going to have some of the ingredients which are going to be friendlier for food and beverage business, whether you talk about food and beverage distribution, and typically FMCG distribution is going to be very different from your industrial distribution. And that's what we have been talking about during our reviews. So BC as a product is very friendlier to your FMCG distribution. And now you are going to layer in the food and beverage functionality. That's what makes it very strong in general. And by the way, I mean, the reason why Aptean obviously acquired this product is because they were really strong in this space. I mean, obviously this product had a lot of installations. There's no question about that. People who loved Microsoft Business Central, they bought this because they were getting the Microsoft. Obviously, JustFood is not going to say that this is JustFood. They are going to say that this is Business Central. That's how they have always commercialized. Depending upon how thick the add-on is, that's how most ISVs operate. So I don't know whether Aptean is right now selling it as Business Central. That could be a tricky situation to be in, because obviously Aptean is a very serious ERP company. So here they are saying leverage traceability, scheduling, and quality functionality to optimize your compliance efforts with global food safety initiatives and regulations. And overall, when you look at the food traceability, when you look at the forward and backward traceability, when you look at which is that compliance in food, this one, HACCP compliance, right? HACCP compliance is one of the most common one in the food, and obviously they are very serious overall the way the industry works in general. And HACCP does require a lot of compliance built in, including your forward and backward traceability, and that's the reason why companies such as your Plex, QAD, Sage X3, they are in the food space because they are going to have the traceability built up as part of the core product. And if you are trying to develop that, good luck with that, because it's never going to work. So make sure it is going to be part of the product. So here they have some more commentary: warehouse and inventory, manage picks, putaways, and containers to easily keep track of inventory and its movement throughout the warehouse. Obviously, that's again very generic description there, but I believe the warehouse and inventory, especially if you go into patches such as frozen food, you are going to have slightly unique requirement from the inventory perspective. They are at least going to support the formula and recipe, which is probably going to be need for this space. PLM is probably going to be need for this space, and they don't have the description of that, I guess. And maybe they are trying to provide the Aptean PLM integrated as part of this one, and that's why Aptean was probably interested in this product to begin with. Integrate production scheduling and batch management for accurate, more accurate forecasting and cost-effective manufacturing. Then they have R&D and product development, use recipe. This is where they have used the word recipe, obviously, and production data to test new formulations, invent new products, and discover more efficient production methods. And this is where the functionality is going to be really tricky, especially for food and beverage manufacturers. And if you don't have this as part of your product, most likely you are going to struggle with the product, because the way the formulas and recipe work, they are very different from any other assembly-centric bombs or your discrete-centric bombs. So make sure you are going to have the formulation supported. And some of the food verticals may not have as complex formulations in general, but it does get very complex in terms of the way the process moves overall throughout these stages, and the way the changes you are going to be needing as one of the ingredient is going to change because of, let's say, catch weight or weight loss. And catch weight is one of the major piece of functionality that you are probably going to require in this particular vertical. Any comments? I can take those, or I can move to the next comment.
No, I mean, the whole thing that's different. I mean, obviously, when you're talking about this type of a manufacturer, the terminology gets to be a lot different. Instead of a bill of material, it's a recipe. And of course, formulation is because they've actually, usually the companies that use this type of software have scientists, and they're doing continual testing and percentages, and it gets to be it's very different than your discrete manufacturing processes, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I would not be shocked if I found a ERP salesperson who is trying to sell their bombs as recipe. I mean, they are all same,
Happens
right,
all
Andy?
the time. No, go away, Sam. Go away. Happens all the time, and I'll tell you what. I have seen demos where all they do is change the word bill of material to recipe, and they trick people.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And the sad reality of ERP industry is that you are not going to find anything about the software unless you sign the NDA. Even the resellers are not supposed to talk anything negative about any software whatsoever. So when you are talking to either OEM or resellers, they are not supposed to reveal the weaknesses of the software. That is part of their agreement. So good luck in finding things about the software, because you are never going to find unless you sign a contract, multi-million-dollar contract.
Or buy the software, and a year from now, you'll know what the truth is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you tell the rest of us.
Exactly. Okay, so here then we have the sales account for trade, rebates and commissions, and better manage pricing and customer relationships. And then we have some more commentary here. It says advanced warehouse management, held device support, production scheduling, and electronic data exchange. Can choose from a number of available upgrades that can be added to the system at any time. So in my opinion, I guess what they are trying to say is all of these products are probably provided by Aptean. And that is the reason why they have bought this, because these are all add-ons provided by Aptean. And the more add-ons you're going to buy, the more money Aptean is going to make. And that's the reason why they were really interested in this one, this product. Some more commentary here, and this is very interesting because even inside the food verticals, you are going to have very unique patches where you require very specific functionality, and you need to make sure that the product is going to support, or you need to figure out how you are going to support that functionality, because if you don't have that, most likely you are not going to get results. Okay, regardless of how expensive your software is going to be, doesn't matter, guys. Okay. So here they are saying if you deal in meat, poultry, seafood, you likely need to account for catch weight. And again, catch weight is going to be very different in each of the verticals, the way catch weight works. But for the most part, the catch weight itself is a very complex problem to solve the way catch weight works.
Can you give me a little insight of what the definition of catch weight is, Sam?
Yeah. So, and Dave, I don't know if you're going to have any sort of comments on that. No? Okay. So typically the way catch weight works is, so for example, let's say if you are dealing with any of the food industry. So let's say if you have a fish that weighs right now, I don't know, maybe a 1 kilogram. Okay. By the time it passes the quality test, and your test was that it should weigh 1 kilogram. But now the equation changed because the moisture disappeared. So whose problem is that? And who is going to account for that inventory loss? Is it going to be the vendor? Because see, if I'm the vendor, Andy, I'm shipping you, okay? I'm charging you.
So it's almost yield, I guess, eh?
Different than yield. Yield is a different problem. Yield is slightly more deterministic. Catch weight is very unpredictable. Okay, and how do you fight that war? When Dave is gonna say, "Hey, buddy, I shipped you 2 kilograms. If you didn't receive, that's not my problem. I already billed you." So that's a very interesting problem. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say it's a really interesting functionality too. I mean, you talk about kind of going deep into these industry verticals, right? When we're talking about solutions. I mean, this is a perfect example because I would venture a guess that there would be several software vendors out there that would say, "Yeah, we can do that."
Everybody can do that. No, no problem. You sign the contract, all the problems are going to be solved, right?
Here's the trick, guys. Here's the trick. When you're talking to a ERP salesperson and you say, "Can you do that?" If they go, "Yeah," that means no.
Exactly.
If they say yes, that means yes.
Yeah, it is interesting functionality though. So yeah.
Yeah, and catch weight in general is going to be very complex. And the other problem that I wanted to highlight in this particular industry is, and again, what I have heard from the other consultants who were really frustrated that I never want to touch an ERP implementation in this industry. This is coming from the consultant because poor guys,
Really?
they have to implement it.
Yeah. Those darn salespeople talked over the fence, and now it's my
the people, and I am talking about ERP consultant who have been in the industry for roughly 25 years, and they were like, I'm never touching this space. Okay, and the reason why I am not touching this space is because the kind of cuts these meats are going to have, it's very different. So every product is going to be very different. You could probably say that, this is probably very similar to any of the custom shops. But even then, productizing those cuts, how do you sort of create the product model? That problem exists in a lot of different industry. But in this particular case, it's extremely unique because the way you are going to recognize your inventory, the way you are going to account for each of the cuts, I don't know, what logic you are going to follow in creating a product, unless that is a packaged product that has some sort of barcode with it.
Well, it's all theoretical, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking there, kind of tacking onto that same thought process, because you think about it from the process standpoint. I mean, even if you have a situation, internally where you're doing something like dry aging, let's say, of beef or something like that, where you're going to have some sort of moisture or material, kind of, how do you account for that from a system perspective to capture your cost? Because now, what was X amount of, dollars, per pound, let's say, when that, weight reduction happens, right? Now you've got a new kind of, same cost, right? But at a different unit value. So it's this really interesting functionality. I think a great example of why you can't always take something stock vanilla and turn it into, a chocolate sundae here. I mean, this is really interesting.
Are you using the word vanilla and chocolate sundae as euphemisms regarding the fact we're using a JustFood?
I tried, Andy. I mean, I'm not as quick-witted as you are.
There you go. Attaboy, Dave. Attaboy, Dave.
And by the way, I am going to do one Andy's joke today. Okay, so let's say if you are trying to find how to be the best stealer, okay, and you want to find an industry where you are not going to have any chances of getting caught, then you should probably attack this industry. The reason for that is because nobody can find out whether it is because of the moisture or whether it is because of somebody stole something.
You have to be able to run fast, though.
What's that?
You have to be able to run fast.
No, nobody can find out. You don't have to run, Andy, in this particular case. Nobody can blame you.
The cream rises to the top eventually.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically mention this in the code that, it was all moisture. Disappeared. I have no idea what happened. That's not me. It's moisture.
We're having way too much fun, you guys. This is not supposed to be this way.
Andy, see, you start the jokes and then I need to follow along, man. I mean, what can I do?
It's all good, Sam. It's all good.
All right. Any other jokes, Dave, or shall I move on to some more interesting topics?
Let's keep going.
Okay. So here we have some more commentary. They are saying it can be difficult to assign a class to your raw milk when it is received, as you may not yet be sure when it will be used in. So you need the flexibility to modify that characteristic once you have more information. Okay, so dairy actually goes through a very different process. So they are trying to describe a very specific problem of the dairy industry, which is very, very unique and very different. So here they are saying are particularly well served by the integrated real-time metrics that ERP offers, but that real-time metrics could come from your MES in general. I mean, if my OT friend Dave Griffith were here, then he would be talking about this. And, you are going to see a lot more operational technology in the food and beverage industry, in the food industry, because that is one way to solve your catch weight problem. Because as the good is moving through your machine, you need to know what is happening to your good, and then you can account for this in real time. That's why operational technology is far more relevant. So I think that's what they are talking about here. But I don't know if this particular solution is going to have all of those bells and whistles to be able to connect with the machine in real time. And I don't know if it is the smart idea to sort of connect your ERP, with your machines in real time in general, just because your ERP is a very sensitive, confidential data, very, very rigid in general. You want to keep your operational data separate in general from the ERP, unless you have some sort of reconciliation problem, which you should be solving from the architecture, not keeping everything inside ERP. So here they are saying recipe-based manufacturing, fine-tune their formulations and monitor ingredient levels to achieve excellent product quality and optimal levels. Again, I don't have any other insights there, unless you guys have anything that you may want to add.
No.
Okay, so if you look at the look and feel, and by the way, guys, I mean, see, they did not change the font color to yellow, because that would mean that it's probably not going to be visible.
They'd be hungry.
So I don't know how they are going to read it, Andy, if they change it to yellow on the gray background. So they had to keep the green one, and I don't know if they are hungry or not, Andy. So they still
I'm always hungry, Sam.
You are always ERP hungry. I know that. But overall, if you look at the functionality, this is not going to be the default functionality that you are going to find inside the BC product. And we have one comment here. We will cover that before we move on to the slide. And underscreen, follow underscreen, amazing guy. ANDERSGREEN is the last name. Recatch weight, catch weight. It would be interesting to handle the water loss as similar to manufacturing loss, like excess plastic from molding or wood after trimmed to lumber. In my opinion, the reason why catch weight is an interesting problem is because it's not as finite as yield. So I think Andy had similar points. In the discrete manufacturing, you are going to have yield. A lot of things you can control by yield, but here you are not just talking about the loss during your production process. The loss could happen at any point of time, even if Andy is holding the same product for an hour.
Yeah, it's environmental variables. It's outside of the.
I'll tell you, Anders is right as far as the lumber is concerned, because if you think about lumber, the yield is theoretical, because you don't know where the knot is going to be, or if there's a damage to the wood. And they can't use that, so they're cutting pieces, and the actual yield, the finished product, is not known until they've actually gone through the process.
Yeah, but Andy, if you really think about it, the yield is going to be attributable to an operation. So unless, in this particular case, let's say if Andy is holding the product and you capture Andy as the operation as part of your manufacturing process, you will not be able to capture the yield.
But I'll be out having a sandwich, so that manufacturing process will probably stop.
Well, I think if you think about it from a layered perspective, right, you still have a potential yield issue on top of the catch weight issue.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why, to me, I mean, that's why specific in that industry, you wouldn't be able to necessarily, I mean, maybe, right, but you would probably lose some visibility by reducing your layers from 2 to 1. I don't know how important that would be, but I would imagine if you're a sizable operation. Think about some of those large fish markets or something like that, where you're bringing in, thousands of pounds of fresh fish. I would imagine that at some point that visibility would be, imperative.
But Dave, if you really think about it, the more you are going to keep these two things separate, the more you will be able to predict the catch weight. And the more you will be able to account whether this needs to go to a vendor, to the insurance company, or to yourself.
That's kind of my point. Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly my point is if you commingle those two things, right, you would lose that visibility. And
Exactly.
and the bigger the operation, the more imperative I feel like it's going to be. So yeah, it's interesting though.
Yeah.
Some similarities, but for me, the differentiator is the fact that even in the wood scenario, that is still not an environmental, back to your point, Sam, it's still an operation that ultimately dictates what that yield is going to be, where the catch weight issue really is, not tied directly to an operation. It's,
Exactly.
it's just different. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And again, with any variable, from purely speaking from the operations perspective, and Dave, you are probably going to have far superior commentary than I do, to be honest, in this particular case, because obviously you are the operations guru. But any variables that you have in your process, you want to minimize the impact. If you can separate one variable into two, then your predictability as well as the traceability is going to be higher. If you are trying to mix those, then you are not going to have as much traceability in the reporting.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Awesome. So here, the functionality that you are seeing overall from the quality perspective, a lot of products are going to have that inbuilt, but this is provided by your JustFood add-on. It used to be the add-on, but right now, obviously, this is with Aptean. So they are trying to sell this as more of the product. In this particular case, it can be called a product, I guess, because Aptean is providing the support. They are probably providing the implementation, and you don't have to go to Microsoft at all. So I don't know where you draw the line, to be honest, in terms of what is add-on versus.
Well, maybe the Business Central is only for the accounting?
That's not necessarily true, Andy. So Business Central does have very deep supply chain. So the way I like to think now, a lot of people are asking, okay, where do you draw the line between your ERP versus non-ERP? I think the best way to think about it is how many different subledgers you have as part of your ERP. Typically, when you look at the manufacturing CRM, then you are going to have a lot more subledgers in general. If you are trying to limit yourself just with accounting, then if you are simply focusing on your general ledger, then you don't have as much functionality. Now, let's say if we talk about AR, AP, that is still very in the accounting realm. Okay, you are still not going to your operations. But when you get into operations, that's where your inventory is going to be. And inventory itself is going to have, 3 or 4 different ledgers. In this particular case, you are probably going to have a quality ledger, which is a very different subledger than your other subledgers that you are going to have, because you need to do the accounting of your quality ledger and you need to account appropriately, especially if you are going to have catch weight. Now, I don't know if you want to send catch weight to your CFOs, because they will faint right there. You want to tell them that, okay, this was the catch weight. We just lost it, guys. Okay. And this is the loss that you can expect all the time. So again, the operational problems are very serious in general. The way manufacturing floor or the logistics or the supply chain people are going to deal with these things, right? So that's why they need to have the separate subledger. So I think thinking from the perspective of subledger is probably going to be the best way of thinking, okay, what is the scope of the ERP in general? And do you really require those subledgers or not, to be honest? In some cases, you probably don't, because, you probably don't need to send as much data. your integration is not going to be as complex with your ERP. The reconciliation is not going to be as complex. I don't know if I'm making sense there, Andy, but typically, if you think from the perspective of subledgers, how many subledgers are included as part of your ERP? That can dictate the boundaries of ERP, how thick the ERP is or how lean the ERP is. But in this particular case, the Business Central is used for supply chain. It is used for AR, AP. It is used for distribution.
It is pretty much the whole Business Central system.
Exactly. I think it is also used for the inventory. So they are augmenting inventory. They are not completely, I guarantee this. Okay. I don't think they have bypassed the inventory. They may have bypassed the bombs because the bombs are going to be discrete. So they have to bypass the bombs because they have to have the recipe. Underlying Business Central is not going to have those objects. They don't have recipe inbuilt. So they have to extend that object and create a new functionality. That's how the development works. Okay, so they must have done that. So they are hijacking the BOM functionality, but the core inventory, I think they are simply extending that. I don't think they have hijacked the core inventory ledger.
That's really interesting too. I think from a kind of system architecture standpoint, I mean that would make sense for why they're going to maintain this with Business Central versus moving it, because that integration, that piece, that object extension, I mean that'd be significant development to be able to re-engineer that, I would imagine, right?
So we are talking about extension of the object, but if you really think this from the legal standpoint, okay, so you have hijacked the functionality, but now who's responsible for support? That's not going to be Microsoft because you hijacked it. So that's not part of now Microsoft contract. That's not my deal. You have taken over my object, so you deal with it. So now it's not just the development problem, it's also a legal problem. Who is going to provide you the support? Okay, tomorrow if there is going to be a lawsuit, who's going to be responsible?
Yeah.
It's going to be the company who has extended it. It's not Microsoft.
Interesting.
So we get into the legal scenario as well in terms of who's going to be responsible. So obviously it's not just the technical problem that we are dealing with here.
That's a good point.
Interesting, guys. If you guys don't have anything else on this one, then I can move to the next one. No? Okay. Now, when you look at things such as trace method becomes very interesting concept in general. And this is where the traceability is going to be handy. Even the traceability in different industries is going to be very different. Here, the traceability that we are talking about traceability from the origin. Okay, that's a very, very, very serious traceability because you are literally tracing it from the origin. So if we are talking about food, then we are talking about farm. Okay, that's how it needs to be tracked. So, probably you are tying in with the agriculture. In some of the industries such as pharma, you are going to have the whole chain, the way your serial numbers are going to be transferred across the product life cycle. You need to track the entire chain. In food as well, it's going to be as serious. It's just not, the regulations are not as heavy as your pharma. Recall segment, again, the way this functionality is done, it's mind-blowing, to be honest. Okay, I really appreciate this functionality, the way they have created. So here, I don't know whether you guys are able to notice or not, you have the lot number, which is tracked throughout the process. You have the purchasing, you have the finished good, and then another finished good. So you have the whole hierarchy that is being tracked. And here, if you look at the product, you are looking at cashew oil. You have the quantity, and you have a bunch of ledgers there. There is a little deduction happening with the quantity. So you need to track everything that is happening with the entire trail. So this is almost very similar to your audit trail. And that's how complex it gets. And when you are talking about the legal boundaries between two different systems, when you are talking about extension of the objects, good luck with the traceability. I don't know who's going to be legally responsible for these things. You will only come to know when you are going to go to the court, because that's when that's where the finger pointing is going to be. Once you get into that kind of problems, but you are not going to know unless there is a problem. And that's why it's very, very important to understand your contract and read those contracts to understand how this is going to play out in general. Your ERP vendors are never going to mention this because otherwise you are not going to sign. um, okay. Some more very interesting functionality here. So you have the production BOM, you have the unit of measure code, and unit of measure code is a batch. Can you believe this? Now, this is very unique, and the way I have seen, to be honest, so they are obviously releasing in batch. Okay, that's how the release process works in most of the food industries. So you are talking about the whole batch, the unit of measure. So let's say, I don't know, I mean, if you are, let's say, releasing 10 tubs, so I don't know if that is going to be one batch, 10 batch. Yeah, so that could be one reasoning that you need to probably account for in terms of your how your processes are going to be. But typically you are releasing in batch because you need to track that batch based on your lot number. Each batch is going to have one lot number, and that you need to trace across your processes. If you are not able to trace that, then you are going to get into the HACCP compliance issues. That's why the whole batch is very important, the way the batch functionality works. You also have things such as active lab version. There could be the testing requirements in between the process, and sometimes you need to track as part of your traceability in terms of who approved, who certified. So you need to have that correlation as part of your batch. That's why it is captured at the production BOM level. Then you have the gross weight. You have the expected output weight as well, which is again very unique and very interesting. You guys have any commentary here?
No, I mean, obviously they have a lab piece of the software, which is really absolutely needed when you're talking about products that you're going to consume. But yeah, it's all very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so some reviews here. So we have Bill. Bill is the IT director in the US, and he is coming from food and beverage. So he obviously did a great job in buying the right software. 201 to roughly 500 employees, which is probably the right size for the software as well. So here they are saying JustFood provides a better value for a mid-tier product than anything else we looked at. And this is coming from 2 years ago, so which is very recent, obviously. Okay, so here I am going to have to agree with Bill. In general, I think, if I were Bill, probably I'll buy this software. So here they are saying with the software having a foundation of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, you can be assured that the platform isn't going to go away anytime soon. Yes, that's a big concern. Okay. So when you have the financial pockets of Microsoft, you can definitely be assured. And that's why the financial standing of your publisher is going to be one of the criteria that you need to keep in mind when you are evaluating the software. It's not just going to be the financial pockets. You also need to look at the product roadmap. Not every product that is supported by OEM will have the future. So you need to make sure that you are reviewing that as well. And sometimes it could be very hard to find these things unless you come from the industry. So here they are saying handle so many variations of situations, has ensured minimal customization to meet our needs. I am going to have to agree, just because they are getting a lot of food specific functionality. Now, some of the cons, they are saying resources for much of the custom written parts that JustFood created are limited. Help resources. Okay, so that's very common with any of the add-ons that you are going to have written by a software developer, which was not like Microsoft. And the reason for that is because they are going to be short on funds. Okay, you can only either you can create the functionality or you can write the documentation, and writing code is far more fun than writing the documentation. Okay, so why do you need to write the documentation? Because the other person who's going to take over will figure it out somehow. Okay, so that's how most software developers and the technical teams think, and this is going to be a huge risk for your implementation as well, because the technical team that you are hiring, they don't enjoy writing the documentation for the functionality that they might be developing. So this is a serious issue in general with any of the add-ons that you are going to be buying. So make sure you research on that. Now they are saying, Andy, you have a comment?
Not well, just I'm sure you're going to go there, but it's interesting reading what the pros are, which is rather not a lot of meat. That's another pun there, Dave. But
I got
the
it.
cons are pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, I would not say, this is scary. And, obviously I want to be fair with JustFood, Microsoft, as well as Aptean as well. So this is probably going to be very common when you are going to have any sort of add-on that is not developed by the mainstream software developer. This is very, very, very common. Even some of the, major publishers, they are going to be extremely poor at documentation. So again, you need to come from the industry to be able to understand, which is the developer that does a good job of documentation. In general, companies like Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, they are probably going to be the best at documentation. And the reason for that is because they are creating a horizontal product for the consulting community. Okay, so their documentation is going to be far more superior, but any add-on that you are going to add on top of that is probably going to have poor documentation, because that is done by a VAR or ISV, and they just don't have as much experience, number one. Number two, they just don't have as much funds that they have to worry about the documentation. Typically, the product is only going to be used by their teams, so they don't have to care for the documentation.
I'm looking at the second sentence in the con where it says implementation professionals are overburdened, and that they have experienced a fairly high turnover rate of employees. That's a little bit scary.
You are right. And by the way, there is another point that you have to note. So even if Aptean is controlling this product at this point of time, this is probably going to be reliant on the same team, even if they have acquired, because nobody else can support this product. No documentation, guys. Can you believe this? Okay. Wow. So you still have the same risk that you had before, and then they are talking about the warehouse logistics functionality in terms of managing delivery routes. Weren't as flexible enough for us, because again, that is developed by the developer. They didn't have enough experience in creating the product. Any other comments, guys?
Sam, when did you say that this was acquired by Aptean?
2 years, I believe.
I wonder I just wonder timing wise, because that's what I thought it was, but I'm curious if some of that functionality, if that stock functionality had been moved into Business Central at all, or I'm curious with that comment, because I thought you had mentioned before that you thought that possibly that was being handled in Business Central.
So for the most part, the way Aptean corporate strategy is, I don't think they are going to do any sort of number one improvement on the product. Okay. Documentation improvement, forget about it, because the team that was dealing with this product before, they are probably still supporting that. So I don't think Aptean likes to improve the documentation of the products that they are going to acquire. It's not possible, because the product is very guarded by 5 people that had developed this.
Yeah.
Any other comments, guys? If not, I will move to the next one. So here, one more comment. Easy to use, has accurate information about the inventory 5 years ago. Here, this is a student in Canada, so I don't know how seriously to take this review, to be honest. Food and beverage, 500 to 1,000 employees. Then they are saying software's food safety functionality includes complete lot traceability and quality audits. Offers real-time inventory management as well as shipping and logistics management. JustFood runs on the Microsoft Cloud platform and provides the accessibility, scalability, readability that something. Running JustFood in the cloud provides lower cost of management, faster adoption of new capabilities, and allows you to focus on building your business, not on managing your technology. A lot of BS, not much meaningful as such. So that's it for the show. I have
that last quote. It was from a student, so he was probably trying to impress his professor.
Exactly, and Andy is the professor, I guess.
Yeah, professor of humor. Yes,
professor of humor. Dave, go ahead. Do you have a comment?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm happy to kind of kick things off. I know we've got Anders has another comment in here.
Yeah. Do you want me to touch or do you want to touch? Dave, do you want to go and touch?
Yeah, happy to read it. I don't necessarily have a response, so maybe you do. But Andrews asks regarding the traceability, the HACCP sensors are often tossed in with the fish and measure the temperature every few minutes. Does Aptean mention any IoT capabilities to integrate with these sensors?
You would think, I mean, that's pretty specific, and you would think it must have the APIs for that purpose.
Well, API versus creating the IoT network are two different things in general. Okay, every single product out there is probably going to have some sort of APIs.
Right.
Okay, so here I think Aptean has been acquiring a lot of different products in the IoT space, to be honest. Okay, they have done a lot in the industry 4.0, so I don't know how integrated those products are going to be with this one, and I don't know if you are going to get everything that you're looking for, Anders, from this product. You probably, if you are really into the OT scenario, then you probably want to figure out your own architecture, because you are going to have a lot more concerns than keeping everything inside ERP, because ERP is probably trying to put everything in cloud, but then you have far more risk. And I don't know, how much you want to sort of give it to your ERP vendor overall in terms of the risk when you are going to have the whole machine controlled by a software. So OT is very risky in general, the way OT works. So I don't know, I mean, whether you want to sort of create your own architecture or you want to rely on an ERP to be controlling your OT infrastructure.
Is there any comment in their marketing materials about MES at all, Sam?
Not for this product, I guess. They have MES for the other one, I think. And I mean, they are going to brand MES, even if they are going to have some sort of add-on on top of ERP. But for the most part, I doubt if they really have the real MES capabilities. Dave, you have a comment? You are...
I was looking on the Aptean website, and they do have an article, a blog article here. Just skimming it quickly, it doesn't sound like maybe they have a full-fledged solution in terms of tying the IoT into this particular solution. They don't call it out by name, but they do reference kind of it as a category. So interesting reading. I will put it in the comments in case anybody is interested to dig into this further. But it looks like it'll be an interesting read after the fact.
Okay, amazing. Any other comments, guys? No, if not, then that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one product or the solution. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another solution or the...
I got one comment for you, Sam. This is just to end the show here with.
Yeah.
We were talking about recipes versus bill of materials, and that the salespeople will sometimes change the bomb to say recipe and try to convince you it's it's for process or food or whatever the case. So what's the difference between a car salesman and an ERP salesman?
And Dave knows the answer for that question.
Not me.
Car salesman knows he's lying to you.
Exactly. Could not agree more, Andy, on that, to be honest. Okay, thank you so much for the joke. Yes, the ERP salespeople have never implemented an ERP. You have to talk to the person who has implemented, because those are the people who are going to suffer.
Or the people that have already implemented, the customers.
Exactly. They are the only ones who will know it. On that note, once again, thanks, guys, for tuning in tonight. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks.
Nice to see you, Dave.
You too, Andy.